Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of r/Entitled Parents. My name's Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, and I look forward to bringing you guys today's top stories. If you end up liking those stories, be sure to leave a like on the video as well as subscribe with notifications turned on, that way you could stay up to date with all the latest and the greatest we have here on the channel. Without further ado, MadRen15 presents My Entitled Sister Wants Me to House My Niece for Free During Uni. My niece had to move back in with her mother after the lockdown started. She lost her job and all her classes were online. Her lease was month to month, so she didn't have to worry about breaking her lease. Recently, the schools have reopened and she has just started attending classes again. Problem is, her apartment, which was walking distance from her university, is now rented. Parking in the area sucks and it's an hour one way from her mother's house on public transit. I will say now that my niece is also incredibly spoiled and is taking classes for a degree with no practical benefits. By this I mean that it will in no way help her with a career path, nor are they the necessary courses for further education. Got a call from my sister asking if my niece could live with me because I live alone in a 2-bedroom house and I'm a 15-minute bus trip from her uni. I said no for several reasons. I work nights and I need to sleep during the day. My niece is a very loud young woman and doesn't understand the concept of an indoor voice. Last time she stayed in the same home as me, I was sleep deprived because of her practically yelling on her phone, and it affected how I did my job, resulting in a write-up. My niece is also a very messy person. I helped with the move out and the memory makes me shudder. Some of the unwashed dishes in the sink were tossed because they were beyond cleaning. She tried to just sit on random crap and text her friends while scrolling TikTok. I had to take her phone and lock it in the glove box of the U-Haul we rented just to get her butt moving to help. My sister still calls me a bitch for doing this. While I may have a 2-bedroom home, the second room is my office and workroom. I've been in the process of making a wire-wrapped necklace to sell online for extra income, and I needed the area as a workspace. It's also my library, for lack of a better word. I keep my collection of novels on bookshelves in there, and it's a comfy old recliner area for reading in. My niece is allergic to cats, and I have 3. My sister seems to think that I could keep either all of them in my bedroom or locked up in the basement for the school year. F that. And this is the big one. My older sister is under the belief that my niece wouldn't have to help out with household expenses or be expected to cook for herself. She also thinks that my niece shouldn't have to get a job while in school to focus on her studies. Tried to pull the "we're family and we should help each other out" card, but that didn't count for shit when my step-siblings nearly made me homeless after my stepdad died and gave me 30 days to find a new place for me, my dog, and dog-friendly buildings are hard to find where I live. The only way I would agree for my niece to live with me is that she would give me $250 a month to help cover utilities and part of the internet. Figured that's a steal considering a cheap place around her school is more than double or even triple that. Plus utilities, and she could use the garage for her car for free. But I would also expect her to buy her own food and clean up after herself, like doing her own laundry, keeping her own room cleaned, and putting her dishes at least in the sink. If not the dishwasher. Wouldn't expect her to cut the grass or shovel snow. The thought of even asking her to do this already gives me a headache. Now I'm getting texts from both of my sisters telling me I'm a horrible person and should open my home to this. That it's unreasonable to expect a 19-year-old to spend 2 hours on the bus every day, yada yada. Part of me feels guilty because I could move my office and workspace down to the basement. Can't be a living space due to lack of windows, but I can't afford the expense of a second person in my home without them chipping in for the bills. Nor will I lock my cats away in their own home. It should have been more clear. I don't have plans of letting her live with me. The $250 thing I mentioned was more of a what-if situation that I'm not entertaining. This post was more of a rant than anything else, but I'm appreciative of the advice and validation of my choice, even though this wasn't meant to be an AITA post. Third and final edit, I had a long talk with my sisters about the situation, and also spoke with my niece. She had no idea her mom and other aunt were trying to arrange living with me. She has plans on moving in with her boyfriend of 2 years, and her mom blew her top. End of story. I don't need to worry about her moving in with me. She didn't want to. I have too many rules for her taste anyway. Bit of a prerequisite for this next story. It was written by a 14-year-old, so it seems grammatically, well, written by a 14-year-old. So while it's not perfect, it's still worth a read, and I hope you guys enjoy. Tuki Pookie presents Entitled Mom Takes Down My Posters so that her 9-year-old son can have no competition in dog walking. Hello, people. Sorry if I don't use the right terms all the time, as I'm not on this subreddit often. This story only happened about 2 or 3 years ago, so I forgot a little bit about it, and I remembered this because my mom brought up her own experience with an EM today at her work. She's a 3rd grade teacher that has many special needs kids in her class, and EM was arguing with her about whether or not her kid should be punished for telling someone they're a sped. I am a 14-year-old male, and this happened about 2 years ago. Here's some background knowledge. So, I wanted to make a little extra money because I was into stocks, and wanted to make money for my future. Invest in stocks, buy a car that would last me past high school, etc. I wanted to start making money by dog walking. I started by making a poster that showed why I wanted to make money, and I had a dog. He was a medium-sized dog, but I was a relatively strong person and I could handle most size of dogs. So I started printing about 30 copies of posters and started putting them up on an electrical post every 200 feet or so. It took about an hour considering that I didn't bike. I just followed my daily routine for the next few days, waiting to get a call from someone to ask about my dog walking. A few days after I put up the posters, I took my dog on a long walk. So I was walking, and just after about 30 minutes from my house, I noticed there was no posters. I swear I thought I put them up. I continued my walk and found less dog posters around this area. After about an hour into my walk, I got home and looked at where I mapped out on where I had put the posters. There was supposed to be posters there. I called my friend who lives near there and asked him to watch the post and tell me if there was someone taking them down. Later that day, he called me back asking where the posters are. Oops, I forgot to mention that I'd be putting them up early tomorrow before school. This was about 10 p.m. and my parents wouldn't let me put them up when I was 12, even if I was almost 13. Okay, well, see ya then, I guess. See ya! Wait, I forgot to say that there's someone standing near one of the posts and has been there for about 20 minutes. And I've seen her before. I think she lives near me. Well, that's random. See ya! Next day, I put up the posters and walk into school with my friend because I was already over there. It's a normal day at school, and I tell my friends about it, and my friend exaggerates about the person standing by the post doing nothing. After about 10 minutes, I get home and get a call from my friend, who lives farther from school, saying that the posters have been taken down again. I'm annoyed at this point, so I bike over to his house and put one poster right across from his window. We head in and start playing Minecraft. I'm not paying much attention as I'm watching the poster. There's someone maybe in their mid-40s approaching the poster. I tell my friend and we wait until they're in arm reach of the poster, as they might just be looking at it. I think that's the person that was standing next to the poster earlier. Okay, let's get over to him. We approach the EM, and as she turns back, she gives us the eye. My friend and I quickly act like we were just taking a walk. Yep, it's the person that was standing at the post earlier. Okay, we should approach her. I'll do the talking. As we approach her, she turns again, and this time the poster is in her hand with a firm grip. Hello, are you interested in that? EM huffs and then turns again. She was clearly in a bad mood. I say it again, but a little different. Are you interested in that? I put up the posters, and I can walk your dog if you're interested.
I don't want you to walk a single dog!
I didn't know what she meant by that, and she starts to rip off half the poster with the other half stuck on. What are you doing?
Well, since my son is going to start walking his dog soon, he wanted to make some money. So I want it to be perfect for him.
Well, there's enough space for the both of us.
No!
Well, even so, you can't take down my posters. I'm also trying to make money.
Well, that doesn't matter. If your parents can afford to live in this neighborhood, then you're fine.
She complains. Then I remember this very distinctively when she says,
Anyways, you're too fat and tall to walk a dog. You couldn't walk a puppy. Ha!
I was really annoyed at this point, and at the time I got mad really easily, so I ranted, Even if my parents can afford to live here, you don't know anything about me, and you assume that I'm fat. You're also a slob and a terrible parent. I bet you've been bean-spoiled your entire life. I know I contradicted myself multiple times in the sentence, but I was mad. My parents could afford to live in the neighborhood, and we live in the Bay Area, which generally costs more places than most, but my family didn't have a nice house. We just lived in a nice neighborhood, and I was not fat. I am really tall, and I have a bit of a large stomach that sticks out a bit, but I don't have an eating problem. I'm just built this way.
I'm going to keep ripping off your posters so that my 9-year-old son can walk dogs.
Lady, stop. My friend spent a lot of time doing this, and if he wants to make money, he can. You're doing a bad thing. My friend was very logical, but we're 12, so we look like complete idiots. At this point, friend's mom comes outside and yells from across the street.
Stop being a bitch, EM, and stop harassing my son and his friend.
His mom was more like me, but an adult. EM, please stop. The reason I want to make money is to invest in my future.
Shut the hell up! You just want to spend it on food, and we all know it!
At this point, I'm done with her craziness. I go back inside with my friend and we continue to play Minecraft. I'd look back over to the argument at hand, and from the looks of it, it seems my friend's mom was just being mean at this point, not even trying to fix the problem. I was fine with that. His mom let me stay for dinner, and turns out she said some pretty funny things to this woman. After dinner, I took my backpack and was going to go home when I realized I brought an extra poster. My friend and I put up the poster and giggled. I didn't care much about this because it was a great story to tell people even if I was mad. This is what I heard about the mom's conversation. It pretty much went like this. My friend's mom told EM that her parenting skills were the same as an animal who abandons her child at birth. EM was just continuously ranting about how the whole world was crazy and how no one can tell when someone's trying to be nice, and how we were evil to suggest that I was even equal to her son. I forget most of the stuff that happened, but I hope me trying to fill in what I forgot was just a hair away from being the same as what actually happened. I show my friend what I wrote, and he said that it was pretty much what happened, but he said we were playing Roblox, not Minecraft. I think he was just messing with me though. I don't like Roblox, and I don't think I ever did. This woman clearly needs some help, or just someone to snap her back into a realistic state. I feel bad for her in that she acts like this on a regular basis, but at the same time, it's not okay whatsoever, and whatever happened to her, she deserved. My friend says that he doesn't see her much anymore, just on holidays. I think she probably moved away and has a family or friends that visits here during the holiday. I made about $600 before I stopped, spent about $150 towards stock, $50 towards money for going downtown with friends, and about $400 went towards a new graphics card for my failing one, but I bought the graphics card about 5 months ago. My friend said that he saw it up for the next few days, but then it was taken down. He said EM didn't do anything to them, but said that her house was TP'd before they moved, which was about 8 months ago. He saw her complaining to the people she hired to get it off. Supposedly, the child never ended up doing the dog walking. He says he one time saw the dad outside about 2 weeks after the incident, and his family was outside, and he said sorry, and that she won't bother you or her family ever again or something. Lucky Farms Living presents EM pushes me in my wheelchair away from my family. A few years ago, I was living in Vegas, and an EM literally wheeled me away from my family. I've been in a number of health issues, and after a few botched surgeries and neurological damage, I was bedridden. I have never left my house or bed except for doctor appointments. I hadn't been out at all for 2.5 years. I had worked really hard on my daily physical therapy, and my balance had greatly improved. My family came out for a visit. My husband was stationed at Nellie's AFB, and I was excited to surprise them with my improvements. I could stand and walk and was actually wearing pants. To celebrate, I wanted to go see the fountains at the Bellagio. For most people, this is a nice outing, but for me, it was years in the making. I was nervous that I might get overtired and lost in the fast-moving crowds, so we had to bring my wheelchair. We knew the schedule for the fountains and arrived super early to secure a spot in front where I could see from my chair. It was such an important moment for all of us. We lined up by the fence, and no sooner did the show start, I felt this jerking on my wheelchair. I thought maybe someone had tripped on me, and I immediately looked up to apologize. I was pretty self-conscious and ashamed of being out in a wheelchair in such a big crowd. When I glanced up to apologize, I see a woman with a small child on her hip using one hand to literally pull me away from the fence. Because she was only using one hand, she had spun me completely around to face the street. I was stunned. I could hear everyone reacting to the fountain show, and here I was looking dumb, awkwardly facing a bunch of strangers. I yelled for my husband, but he couldn't hear me over the noise. I looked behind me, and this woman had plopped her child onto the guardrail. Never made eye contact with me. never said one word to me, and had treated me like a piece of luggage. I tried to stand up, but the people around me had crowded me so much that I didn't have room to push my chair back enough. I desperately looked around at the strangers in front of me, hoping someone had seen what happened and would help. It then dawned on me that this was a huge family friend group. They all began nudging me aside, further and further away from my family. It all happened so fast. I found myself pushed into the walking area where people who weren't stopping to watch the fountain show were. People couldn't see me through the crowd and were stumbling past me. I couldn't see my family anymore and was trying hard to push myself up out of my chair the way my physical therapist had taught me. I feel someone grabbing my chair again and I started yelling, "No, please, no," and realized it was my husband. He had glanced to check on me and to take pictures of me being out for the first time when I was gone. He had to fight his way through the crowd, the same family group, just to find me. I burst into tears. I don't know why, but it was like all of the trauma from the last few years hit me at once. I told him they had pushed me away, and after putting it together, my husband was pissed. He turned to this group of people and demanded to know who had pushed me away. By this time, the fountain show was pretty much over. The group initially just ignored my husband like they had me, until I pointed out the woman with her child as culprits. My family confronted her, nicely might I add, and tried to explain why a wheelchair is an extension of a person. She at first pretended like she didn't speak English, but I had heard them talking amongst themselves in English while they pushed me into the walking area, and I told my husband as much. She then gave up the act and told my family about how I was in their way and probably couldn't see anyway. And then the man with her claimed in a raised voice that, "In their country, they don't take their shameful family members out in public." To which my husband responded, "If that were true, none of you would be here." I was maybe even more shocked by his last sentence than being wheeled away. I managed the courage to tell him what he said was BS and that I'm sure people in your country are kind and would be proud if I was their daughter. I remember the exact words I said because later I was very proud that I stood up to him. The group sort of collectively scoffed, spoke to one another quickly in what I think was Hindi, and slowly walked away as if nothing happened. We didn't stay for the next show because I just wanted to go home. I don't know which is worse, pushing a disabled person in a wheelchair out of your way or wrongly painting your countrymen as prejudice. And for our last story of the evening, Sophia the Wise presents Entitled Mom Yells at My Disabled Friend for Not Being Disabled Enough. So a few years ago, a bunch of my friends and I went to see Anastasia on Broadway. It was amazing and a ton of fun, but also led to this encounter. During intermission, a bunch of us went to get in line for the bathrooms. One of my friends, M, had osteosarcoma in her leg when she was younger, and as a result has a metal rod instead of her bone, and walks with a noticeable limp. There was a line for disabled people and families, and M and her mom got in line. A few people behind them, an older lady was pushing a full-on wheelchair type of thing. I don't know the technical name, sorry, with what I'm assuming her severely disabled daughter. She was in the process of yelling at everyone in front of her because her daughter deserved to be at the front of the line. M's mom is not the kind to be pushed around, and she told the woman that M was disabled too and she could wait her turn. The woman went ballistic and yelled, "Your daughter is not disabled! Stop lying!" This went on for a bit, when the woman would yell at M for not being disabled, and M's mom would stand her ground and tell the woman she wasn't moving, and that her and her daughter could just wait like everyone else. Eventually, they came out of the bathroom, and M was in tears at that point. M is one of the sweetest people I know, and there's no way she deserved to be yelled at for not being disabled, when she doesn't even have a bone in one of her legs because they removed it due to cancer. And there you have it, folks, the end of the epics. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like as well as subscribe with notifications turned on so you could stay up to date with everything we have here on the channel. As always, my name's Ryan, the official host here on Reddit Voice, and I look forward to seeing you guys in tomorrow's video.